A play fake. Young goes deep middle. He's got Jerry Rice. Touchdown 49ers!
Welcome to another edition of the 49ers Family Podcast, where three generations of 49er fans break down the game each week and hear from Grandpa Mike as he shares personal experiences since he became a fan in 1949. My name is Josh. I'm here with my dad, Jared, and Grandpa Mike, and we are a 49ers family. All right. Well, how about them Niners, man? Bang, bang, Niner gang. It couldn't have been a better game. I can't wait to break it down and even preview the Carolina Panthers game. But I mean, my first thought, and I shared this last week, and I shared it with many of my other Niners friends that we were texting before this game, because it was such a big game. The difference of being 1-3 versus being 2-2 atop the division is a big difference. And I'm so excited and glad, happy, stoked, every single adjective, that the Niners came out, showed the defending champions that, you know, we're a force to be reckoned with, and that we can compete with the best of them. So what a game. Grandpa, how are you feeling?
I feel terrific, Josh. Last week I was really down in the dumps. But after, I keep telling myself we played the world champions and we just dominated them. The defense, the 49er defense, I've been a fan, like you said, since 1949. That's 73 years for those of you that don't have a calculator handy. And while it's early, this is the best defense the 49ers have ever had. And they've had some good ones, especially during the Ronnie Lott years. But this, they are suffocating. So, Matthew Stafford, the pressure we put on him was immense. He threw 48 passes. On 36 of those, he was pressured. And there were 7 sacks, 2 forced turnovers, a pick 6, and we're now the number 1 rated defense. The Rams were down in the red zone 3 times and got 3 field goals. So yeah, there's so many things. My mind is spinning. So the 7 sacks totaled 54 yards. The Rams got 57 yards rushing. So it neutralized their whole rushing game, which they don't have one. And they have problems. They've got offensive line problems, and they don't have a running game, and they've really got 1 receiver.
Yep.
So anyway, I am just stoked, and I'm very excited. We've got to keep this up. And then we have 2 road games, and they're winnable, and we should win those. And, but anyway, the great performance.
Love it. Dad, how you feeling?
Yeah, I feel good. It was nice to see the Niners do what they do well, and that's play just a smothering defense, at the line, the linebacker position, and the DBs. Just on all levels. We just put tremendous pressure on the Rams, and we struggled. I still feel we struggled to move the ball a little bit offensively. We were a big play team, in this game, but we got the ball in the end zone, put some points on the board. Defense showed up big time. We just have a lot of upside. We're getting things moving, so I'm excited. I saw Jimmy G kind of just get a little more confident, just moving the ball quickly, getting rid of the ball quickly. I guess I heard some stat that he is like 2.4 seconds was his average, release, get rid of the ball. And that's where we want him to be, So there's a lot of upside. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do the rest of the season, but we have tremendous potential and the number 1 defense in the NFL.
That's pretty cool. So let's break down the box score a little bit. You guys are throwing out some stats, and box score tells a lot about the game. One thing that I think is really just amazing, though, is really Jimmy G did have an efficient night. It slowed down a little bit in the second half. but ended up throwing for 239 yards. Not terrible, not amazing, but kept us in the game. There's been some analytics around the score, and if you can score 24 points, it usually means that you have you're likely to win. So you have a greater than 50% chance of winning. And we got to that 24-point mark, which is good. But of those 239 passing yards of Jimmy G, the most fascinating part is that 80% of that came after the catch. There's been a lot of talk about the Yak Bros with Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle and what they do with the ball after the catch. And that really, which is amazing. And it plays really well to Jimmy's strength of getting the ball out quick, like you just said, Dad. So that was on full display, getting the ball out quick, get it to the playmakers, everything we've been talking about, and let them do their thing. So I love that stat. 80% of passing yards came after the catch. What other stats jump out at you, Grandpa?
Well, a couple. So Stafford threw the ball 48 times. He was 32 for 48 for 200 yards. They averaged per pass 3.6 yards. I mean, just nothing. You could complete 3 passes and not get a first down. So they were all short ones. Cooper Kupp is tough, man.
He's the real deal. I mean, as much as I am a Niner fan, I respect that guy. Even Kyle Shanahan said that he loves watching that guy play because he's the only guy that they have. We were double teaming him half the time. He still ends up with 122 yards receiving. Like, what the heck?
He gets open. It drives me nuts. It's like, okay, they're going to go to Cooper Kupp. You know that, and sure enough, first down. But anyway,
they threw balls in windows, in a 6-inch window. I mean, there's a guy all over Kupp. If the ball goes to a man that's shadowing him, is on him, Kupp will catch that ball. I mean, he goes forward to the ball. I mean, there were throws I thought, how did he just catch that ball? We were draping all over that guy, and he makes it. He's like a magician. And yeah, he is a stud. He is everything he's reported to be, and he proved it. But they're their only score. Remember, he had 7 or 4 of their 7 touchdowns, or over 50% of their touchdowns. He scored 0 touchdowns. So we shut him down. Yeah. They don't put points on the board, and that's what happened.
Yeah. And where did he go to college?
Eastern Washington.
Right. Just this little college, Eastern Washington, and they found him. Yeah, he's the real deal.
It's fun.
Right? Yeah. But other than that, I mean, they don't have a second receiver, and it's amazing. These guys won the Super Bowl a couple of months ago, and they now have a lot of holes. So yeah, they're in a way, the Rams dominated the box score. They held the ball for 34 minutes. We had it for 25. They didn't record a sack. We had 7. And, the rushing yards were average. The passing yards were average. One thing that Jimmy does, he does have that quick release. He's got the 3rd quickest release in the league, which is phenomenal. That's why you don't get sacked. That's why Brady never gets sacked.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers, they just get rid of the ball. What else was I going to say? So, what Jimmy does well is he leads the receiver, and that's where the yak yards come in. So, the guy's in full stride and he catches the ball, and he just keeps going. So yeah, the Rams had 21 first downs. We only had 13. There's an old Bill Walsh theory, and he used to say, if you get 20 first downs in a game, you're going to win. So I've never forgotten that, and I've always looked at that. And the Rams had 21, we had 13, but in total yards, we dominated 327 to 257. So yeah, it was the offense has me a little worried until we get Mitchell back. Wilson's run, his 32-yard run, was timed at 20 miles an hour, which is the third fastest this year. I don't know how they time these things, but he went untouched. That was beautiful. So anyway.
That was a beautiful play. Apparently, I don't know if they've confirmed this with Jimmy G. Apparently, he audibled into the coverage, the blocking scheme on that one, that he brought another guy to that left side. And I mean, yeah, like you said, untouched. He went completely untouched, had a complete lane, and he's a fast guy. I mean, we know that Kyle Shanahan likes fast running backs that can hit the hole and are gone. You know, Raheem Mostert, Elijah Mitchell, and Jeff Wilson are all that same kind of guy.
Right.
So super, that was awesome. I love to see that.
Yeah. Wilson's running hard. I really like, I like everything I see. I think he is doing a great job. I mean, it'd be great to have Mitchell back. When is there a timeline for Mitchell, or do we know anything?
Well, not really. They'll, they said 6-8 weeks.
Okay. So
they'll update it like at week 6. Yeah. He's going to practice on whatever date, but yeah.
Okay. Looking at the box score, for me, the things that stand out, Jimmy G had a decent night. I always look at the passer rating. I always love that. I like 100 or more, and he's at 100. Matthew Stafford had passer rating of 71, so I love the 100. So he got the ball out quick, and that's going to be what the Niners do: get the ball out quick, get it into playmakers' hands, like a Deebo, a Kittle, an Ayuk. Even Jennings when he's healthy, and Juszczyk. I mean, we got playmakers and guys that run hard and are going to work hard for us. So it's get it out and let people do their job. Deebo Samuel, I mean, he, in the interview after the game, he says every time he touches the ball, he's thinking big play. He's got, it's his strength. I think it was. I forget who it was who said it, but his strength, Deebo's strength, is his mindset.
Mentality.
I mean, he just thinks big.
Yeah.
He runs hard and he plays hard. So, I mean, Deebo had 7 targets, 6 receptions, 115 yards total. And then he made the big plays. He averaged 20 yards every time he caught the ball. That was his average. So it's all about that quick pace that fits Jimmy too. Jimmy is not a progression quarterback. He can't see a deep ball, and if there was a guy just picking grass and 30 yards deep, he's not going to see that. He has to know where the ball's going to go within 2 seconds, and then Jimmy can do his thing. Right. So I think it's the formula. It's starting to form, and Shanahan is going to call the plays and design it to fit Jimmy's strengths, which is it's half the playbook is out, just like you guys had said before. So
let's talk about that because I think that was a big improvement that we saw from week 3 to week 4. It did seem like there was more synergies between Jimmy and Kyle, that he trusted him a little bit more and played to his strengths a little bit more. And even, sometimes he's back there by himself. And I was like, oh gosh, because we know that Jimmy's not good on, about avoiding pressure and, making something happen. But, the throws that he made, the plays that we were running were high percentage throws and high percentage plays. And I now kind of want to talk about what I think are the 2 biggest plays of the whole entire game. One is what you just mentioned, Deebo's running catch for 57 yards. Unbelievable. I think that's going to be shown in the season recap. That's going to go down in Niners history, just because what this game means. It's against the Rams. And it's just amazing. It's truly amazing. He ran over Jalen Ramsey, made him look like just flicking the bug off the windshield type deal. Didn't slow down at all. It was amazing to watch. So I want to get your reactions on that. And then second, of course, we have to talk about that Talanoa Hufanga pick six. Oh man, that was so sweet. That was so sweet. What did you guys think about those two plays, or do you guys disagree? Do you think that there were other plays that were more impactful?
Those were the biggies. Yeah, those were the key plays, and just tilted the whole game in our favor big time.
I loved the Deebo play, obviously, but for many reasons. And at the end of it, just like you mentioned, Josh, there was Jalen Ramsey, who I called the mouth. You know, he trash talks everybody. He's very good, but you know, he put his arm out to like on the 5-yard line to tackle Deebo, and I mean, it was laughable, and he kind of fell down. He looked terrible, and so that just was a sweet part of that play. And then my guy, I love Hufanga, and to use some of your words, Jared, he's a game changer. And the guy is so active. I mean, he's running all over the field on every play. He's got a nose for the ball, and he's the guy that, you know, in the Green Bay game last year, the playoff game, he scored the touchdown on the block punt. He just, you know, he's around the ball. He has a great sense, and he works out with Troy Polamalu. They are now beginning to compare him. And Dante Whitner this week. Now, Dante Whitner's a former 49ers safety who's now a commentator locally in San Francisco. And he said this week that Hufanga is the best safety in football. I mean, so
I like it.
We've had these 5th-round picks. So Hufanga was a 5th-round pick. George Kittle was a 5th-round pick. Greenlaw was a 5th-round pick. You know, so you know, wow, we've done so well in the 5th round.
That 5th round is treating us well, and even Greenlaw, which is just killing it too. I mean, yeah, that is just awesome. Yeah.
Greenlaw.
Go ahead.
He had like 17 tackles, 15, 17 tackles.
I think 17. He led the team.
Yeah. So, I mean, everybody's playing well. We were down a couple of guys, and we haven't missed a beat. So this was a huge game, like you said, Josh. I mean, going 1-3, we'd be 2 games behind, and we haven't really played well. Well, now we've played well, and we sent a message to the league that the Niners are here, are the real deal.
Yeah, for sure. All right, a couple of questions on that. You know, it made me think this week, and I saw some commentary on it. Two questions, somewhat controversial. I want to get your takes. And this is still early in the season, but one of this is relative. So, would the Niners be 4-0 if they had started Jimmy G week 1?
I think we would be. I mean, the Chicago game, Chicago did nothing in the first half, and then they got some breaks in the second half. There was 12 penalties. It was an ugly game in terrible conditions, but we should have won that game easily. And with Jimmy, I think we would have won.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think would be at least 3-1. Put it that way. I think he would have made the difference. And so the mud ball, game was just so ugly. And it was at the game, we had like 100 yards and penalties. And I mean, it just, if anything could go wrong, it was ugly. And we couldn't do even defensively. Well, we did fairly well defensively, but even our skilled position players, nobody could have any traction. It was kind of like high school team playing a college team in the mud, and the high school team wins. I mean, that's what it reminded me of. It really wasn't a fair shake. So
yeah, it's an interesting thing. I mean, I'm glad, and I was totally on the Trey Lance train. Still am. I hope he comes back and proves everybody wrong, and takes us and leaves us for the next freaking 17 years, like a true franchise QB can do to an organization. Still hope he's that guy. But it is interesting, and there were a lot of commentary about it, that if the Niners want to win now because they have a championship roster, starting Jimmy G was probably the best bet. I don't think the Niners thought that Jimmy G was going to be around to start. So everything happens. You got to take it one thing at a time. But it's just kind of intriguing to think about. All right, next question, and we haven't brought him up yet. Well, I guess we kind of did. But Nick Bosa is playing lights out. Not only is he getting held almost every single play, and the Niners are literally submitting tape to the NFL saying, look at this. He's getting held the whole time. You have to start calling this.
Yeah.
And we can hope that improves a little bit more. But he is getting home. 6 sacks through 4 games, leads the league. And then pressures, I forget the stat on pressures. It's also unbelievable. Is Nick Bosa already the best 49ers pass rusher of all time?
Well, I would say it's too early to say that.
Okay.
I think he will be. But
who comes to mind?
Pardon me?
Who, if it's not him, who is it? I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, they didn't keep track. They didn't record sacks until 1982. Okay. So, and the leading 49er sack guy is Cedric Hardman, who played in the 70s. From 70 to 79, he had 112 and a half sacks. Okay, that's the leader. And then Bryant Young is second with 89, and then Haley has 66. So it's Bosa's 4th year. He missed almost a whole year.
Yep.
And I think he will be the greatest sack guy in our history. In the league, Bruce Smith holds the title right now with 200, and Reggie White had 198. So, and then there was this other guy, Deacon Jones, who the fans that are listening will remember, that the older guys. Deacon Jones played for the Rams before they kept track of sacks, and so when they came out all of a sudden and are making a big thing of this, he goes, "Hey man, I have more sacks than anybody." So they went back and went through all his games, and he had 173 sacks. So at the time when he made this statement, he did have the most sacks, but later on Bruce Smith and Reggie White passed him. So I think Bosa will be. It's just, too early to say that. He is, on every play, he is all out, and he puts so much pressure on the line and then the quarterback. And a lot of times I just watch him.
It's amazing. Same.
Yeah.
I love watching him, especially on replays and stuff. When in live, I tend to obviously watch the ball, but any replay, I love watching him because he lines up way outside, and he is just so strong, so powerful. He pushed these guys back into the quarterback every single play. And it's not even like there's a lot of DNs out there that are all about getting home. And then as soon as the ball gets run or kind of goes by them, they kind of jog it off. That guy, he wants to touch the ball carrier, whether it's the quarterback or the running back or whatever, every single play. There's multiple times this week, he's literally crawling on the ground just to touch the guy that's down. Like he's just hungry. It's so fun to watch.
Yeah. Trent Williams is, said to be the best tackle in football right now. And he has commented about Bosa over the last couple of years that this guy is the toughest guy he's ever gone against, and it's in practice. Yeah. So he's very special. We had that one year. I feel so fortunate to even have him on the team, because he was the second pick after Kylie Murray that year. And that's the year, when Jimmy got hurt and we just had a terrible year. Everybody got hurt. And so we had the second pick in the draft, and we picked Nick Bosa, and what a wonderful piece.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I think he will, he will be our greatest defender, but it's just kind of early.
So Nick Bosa, yeah, I think he's going to be one of the greats for sure for the Niners. We had 36 pressures in this last game. I think Rams had like 5 pressures. Nick Bosa had 14 of our 36 pressures he was credited with. 2 sacks. He's got 6 sacks on the season. He's probably on track to get 20 plus sacks this year. He's a stud, and we're just loaded at the line, and we got Hufanga at the back. We have Warner and Greenlaw linebackers. So we just at every tier, our defense is putting pressure on the offense, and that's why we can contend with anyone. And this is potentially a Super Bowl team if we can move the ball, and we're going to do great because we're going to hold teams, under 15 points. I mean, right now, I think we're holding teams on average, like I think it's 12 points or less.
Yeah, 11.5.
Yeah. So that's just huge. I mean, our defense is doing the job. We have to score 20, 24, and it's game over. And we'll give one of those touchdowns to our defense.
Yeah. And who else has just been lights out is Mooney Ward. Just every game he makes 2 or 3 plays that, where they throw a bomb and he just tips it away. He has been a wonderful addition. And so our defense is solid.
Defense is solid. Yeah, honestly, you mentioned it, Grandpa. A lot of great defenses in Niner history with Ronnie Law. Even the 2019 year was lights out. I think they carried us kind of through the playoffs, just the way that they were able to just stop the Vikings, stop the Packers, and we just were able to run the ball and kind of just play that possession game. But where we lacked there, we got exposed sometimes in the secondary. But this year, our secondary is locked down. I mean, all 3 levels, we look great on defense, which is really, really fun to watch. All right, any last points on the Rams game?
Yeah, one last thing was the difference too, and I heard it on a number of times. I think Lombardi talked about it, was saying the difference between a great defense and the elite defense is takeaways, and we had a couple takeaways, I guess. So we have to that turnover ratio has to be heavily in our favor, and that is if we can start going after that ball and get some takeaways, that just takes us to a whole nother level. I mean, in this last game, the Rams had the ball for like 36 minutes. They had 73 plays. We had like 45 or 49 or something. I mean, the ball was in the Rams' hands the most, but we won the turnover battle. And if we can win the turnover battle and then score some big plays, we don't necessarily need to hold the ball the whole time, but those numbers scare me when we don't hold the ball that long and we don't have that many plays. But turnovers were key, and we won the battle against the Rams.
Yeah. Two quick comments. So the time of possession can be distorted when you score on long plays.
Yep.
You had the ball for 36 seconds, but you scored a touchdown, like the Deebo play. And then the other thing is D'Amico Ryans, our defensive coordinator, who will be a head coach somewhere next year.
For sure.
He wants the defense to get 3 or 4 turnovers a game. That's what he's told them he expects. Now, that hasn't happened yet. There was one game we had 3, but he wants turnovers. So that's,
Love it.
That's awesome. I love it. I love that focus. It's a ball focus. It's all about grabbing that pigskin. It's the pigskin. You own the pigskin, you get it across the line, you get points. I mean, that's the bottom line. So go after that pigskin. I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, well, let's transition over to Panthers week. Carolina Panthers. Okay, so game is on Sunday. It kicks off at 1:05 Pacific, obviously at 4:05 Eastern. Weather looking pretty good. Sunny day and 66, beautiful football weather. San Francisco right now is favored by 6.5 points. Over and under set at 39. All time, Carolina leads the series 13-9, but I think that the Niners are going to take this one for, I think, a variety of the reasons that we just talked about. So let's break down the Panthers a little bit. Grandpa, what are some of the Panthers' strengths and weaknesses?
Well, Carolina on offense, they're not very good.
Weakness.
I'm trying to be polite here. They're terrible. So they got Baker Mayfield, from Cleveland playing quarterback. They do have Christian McCaffrey, who is a tough runner and receiver. But Carolina on offense, their passing game is ranked 30th, which is last. They generate about 166 yards a game passing. In running, they're ranked 24th. So they don't have a good running game. They don't have a good passing game. And Baker Mayfield has been terrible. The fans are asking to remove him, but Sam Darnold is not ready. He's still hurt. So they haven't, they've played 4 games. They generally score in the teens.
Yep.
So yeah, on offense, they're really weak. On defense, they're 25th against the run. They're giving up 134 yards a game. And their pass defense is decent. They're ranked 12th. So I always look at that and kind of think, okay, that's what the coaches look at, and that's how they design the game plan to go towards the opponent's weakness. So this tells me that we're going to run the football.
Yeah. And one thing that jumped out at me, and Kyle Shanahan mentioned it in his presser, is that he thinks that the Panthers easily could have been a 4-0 team right now, just by the way of the turnover margin or turnover battle. That they've won the turnover battle 3 of those 4 games, which really means that their offense didn't convert on those turnovers. But I think, we just talked about it, and Dad, you just mentioned it, that turnover battle is going to be huge, I think, in this game. That's where we are going to make up the difference. And if we can match the amount of turnovers that they force, if not win it, I think we're going to be in a really good spot, because our defense is going to stop them. I am very confident in that, and my game score prediction will reflect that. But that turnover battle is something to watch.
Yeah, I think so. In fact, I think, I was going to point out that same kind of thing. I think Carolina is the toughest part of this game is we're traveling across the country, and we're on a little bit of a shorter week, just because of the Monday night game. So those kind of things kind of usually put a little pressure on the team that's traveling on a short week like that. So, but I think our defense is going to match up beautifully. It'll be a great game to try and move the ball and kind of get it moving, and just get some more reps and get some more synchronization, as Josh pointed out earlier. I'm very optimistic about it. I don't know much about the Panthers, other than we got McCaffrey and Baker Mayfield, who I've never been a big fan of his. So I think it's going to be a fun game to watch.
So they're starting at 1 o'clock our time, which is 4 o'clock in the East, and that's unusual. Usually in the East, we're playing at 10 a.m. So we got a few more hours, but and then the team is staying back east for the week between the Carolina game and the Atlanta game, and they're staying in West Virginia at the Greenbrier Resort, as they've stayed a couple of times in prior years. So that's just to get acclimated to the time zone, because you're right, Jared, this is a short week, and we're traveling three time zones. So yeah, I'm glad the game is a little later.
Yeah, no, seriously. And I saw that too. I actually was expecting an early kickoff and was pleased to see that's a 4 p.m. kickoff. I think that's going to help our players because that's 1 p.m. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've started games at 1 p.m.
Right, that's normal.
Francisco. So, yeah. I mean, different wake up times, there is that travel aspect, but it's not like starting a game. Yeah, like at 10 a.m. That's got to mess with the body clock. But so I'm stoked about that.
Yeah.
Looking more at the Panthers stats, it's fascinating. Baker's only thrown 4 touchdown passes through 4 games. His completion percentage is 55%. He's thrown, against the 4 TDs, 3 picks. So he's not playing good football. And I think, they have some pretty good receivers. DJ Moore is a legit receiver. Robbie Anderson, also a legit receiver. Both of them on the year have 13 catches, 12 catches. 138 yards, 174, and each only have 1 touchdown. So they're struggling on offense, kind of like what we expected and we did see with Russell Wilson and the Broncos. They're still trying to find their identity and work these new quarterbacks into the system and make it work. And we were able to stop the Broncos besides that last drive, whatever. But we were able to stop them, and I think we're going to be able to stop these guys.
Yeah, I agree. We want to go on the road and get 2 wins and come home 4-2.
Yeah. All right, let's do some game score predictions. What do you guys think? What do you think is going to be the final score?
I say Niners win 28-13.
28-13. Okay, so 15-point differential. Yeah. Okay. Dad, what do you think?
I'm going to say 24-10. Niners will win.
Okay. Awesome. I'm going to be once again kind of close to you, Dad. I'm going to say 21-10. Mm-hmm. Little low scoring. I think we're going to possess the ball. Grandpa mentioned running the football, so I think it's going to be some longer sustained drives. And I hope we win 28-10. But I would be surprised if the Panthers score more than 14 points. Knock on wood, of course. But I think it's going to be a somewhat low-scoring game, so I definitely take the under. But also, I think the Niners are going to cover and win by more than 6.5.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, we just got to win that the takeaways, the turnovers, and it's going to be a fun stat to watch because that is so indicative of the league in general. But that is the edge that Niners. The little edge is going to make all the difference. Just to even out the game and to put us in the win category is takeaways and turnovers. Because I think Jimmy will manage the game well, will run the ball well enough. But to get the little bit extra possessions and opportunities is going to be on takeaways.
Yeah, and I will say, as far as like all the players on the Niners and kind of who to look out for. Jeff Wilson, I think, is going to get a lot of carries. I think he's going to do well. I'm very intrigued. We're pretty banged up at the running back position, but as we mentioned, I think the first podcast or maybe the second is the Grandpa, you have to remind me his name. Is it Mason? Jordan Mason?
Yeah.
There's some quiet hype behind him, and I hope we see him in this game. I think has the potential to be a breakout game for Jordan Mason. I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yeah. One of the other things that Kyle Shanahan and his father, even before Mike Shanahan, they always would draft or sign these free agents, low picks or free agents, and the guy would gain 1,000 yards. So it's the system, and the Niners have kind of done the same thing in recent years. We've had all these different guys lead the team in rushing in different years, and here we go again. It's so yeah. But one thing the Shanahans insist on is you do not turn the ball over, do not fumble, and when people have fumbled, they come out.
Mm-hmm.
So Yeah, I'd like to see Mason. I think that's the weakness. The biggest weakness of Carolina is their run defense. So we're going to run the football, and Mason will get some carries.
Yeah, run to set up the pass. Would love to see it.
Yeah,
Huge.
Awesome. Well, should be a good one. As always, we like to end these episodes with a story from Grandpa Mike and his personal experiences. I really like this one, and he's not wearing his jersey today, number 39, Hugh McElhenny, wearing the Deebo Samuel. You can't go wrong there, Grandpa. I'm wearing my Deion Sanders. Dad's wearing his Fred Warner. We're all looking
right here. There you go.
looking fresh.
Deebo.
But yeah, Grandpa, tell us a little bit more about Hugh McElhenny and kind of your fandom.
So Hugh McElhenny, many of our listeners probably have never heard his name. He played for the 49ers in the 1950s, and he was spectacular. I don't think he's ever gotten his due. Walter Payton and Barry Sanders, he was very elusive. He was just a very exciting runner. The tacklers would go, and it was like tackling a ghost. He was there and then he wasn't there, and they just come up with air. So anyway, just a little bit, I put some notes together. So Hugh McElhenny was to pro football in the 1950s and the early 60s what Elvis Presley was to rock and roll. Okay, that's a fact. He was just, they called him the King, like King James, and he was known as the King. Frankie Albert, the 49ers' very first quarterback, named him the King because he returned punts, he returned kickoffs, he was a great receiver and a fabulous runner. He went to the University of Washington. He was an All-American. He set a bunch of records in college. He was the first round draft pick of the 49ers in 1952. He was the 9th overall pick, and he made an immediate impression. I mean, right away, as a rookie, he returned a punt 86 yards, and he had a run from scrimmage of 94 yards, and just, weaving his way through these guys. He was just exciting. He averaged 7 yards a carry, and he was a member of, some of you've heard of the $1 Million Backfield. And the $1 Million Backfield today doesn't sound like much, but in the 50s, these guys, what do you think they made in the 50s? Salary.
Yeah, 10,000 a year. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I don't know what they made actually in the 50s, but in the 60s, in 1968, the first union contract was signed, and rookies made 9,000, veterans made 10,000. Whoopee. Okay, so in the 50s, it was less than that, and they were known as the $1 Million Backfield. All four members, Y.A. Tittle, Joe Perry, John Henry Johnson, and Hugh McElhenny, are in the Hall of Fame. It was incredible. So he averaged 7 yards a carry. He's considered by many as the greatest thrill runner ever. And he just really gave you thrills. The reporters, when they wrote their stories, they tried to use all these superlatives and everything, and they just couldn't come up with the right words. I'm having trouble describing him. He was phenomenal, just so much fun. And he wore number 39. So later when I played football, he was my idol. I picked number 39 for Hugh McElhenny. And let's see, when he retired after the 64 season, he was one of 3 players to gain over 11,000 all-purpose yards. So at the time he retired, he was the 3rd greatest yardage guy ever. and the league started in 1920. So, and the other two guys were.
I wish I knew. It's gonna ring a bell, but I can't. It's not on the top of my head.
So Jim Brown and Lenny Moore.
Yeah.
Jim Brown played for Cleveland. He was unstoppable, phenomenal power runner. Lenny Moore was very elusive from Penn State. So the three of them had over 11,000 yards. So that was, and 11,000 yards is over 6 miles. I mean, it's a long ways. So anyway, he was phenomenal. And one of the reasons I wanted to pay tribute to Hugh McElhenny tonight was he passed away a couple of months ago. And I don't know if a lot of the fans have noticed, but there's a sticker on the back of all the players' helmets, number 39. And that's to a tribute to Hugh McElhenny. So
very cool.
Phenomenal player, phenomenal.
I'd love to hear that. I gotta see if we can pull up some highlights of Hugh McElhenny and watch those. One thing that I think that the Niners do really well, and players have even mentioned this, especially since John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have teamed up and kind of been leading us for the last 5 years, is bringing kind of the legacy of the 49ers to the forefront, and having that kind of be proud to be a Niner, proud to be kind of part of the 49er family. 49er family is a big deal. And a lot of even alum or kind of former players of the Niners have mentioned that, and that means a lot to them, that they're not just trying to erase history and be a new team, but really stand on the shoulders of giants and learn from the team. And you see Steve Young and Jerry Rice really around the team a lot more than you used to, which is really cool.
It is. We can't forget the past and where we came from. There is a 49er Alumni Association, which Keena Turner heads up now. It used to be R.C. Owens. And so they bring players every game, alumni players. So they work hard at keeping it together. I'm always shocked. I have this vision of Hugh McElhenny, just good looking guy, and he was a phenomenal football player. And then you don't see him for years. Right. All of a sudden he passes away and there's a picture of him and you go, that's Hugh McElhenny? You do age. So anyway, you see these old timers come back and they've gained weight and stuff, but they give you so many thrills. You're just so happy to see them.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, that'll do it for another episode of 49ers Family. Appreciate everybody listening in. Once again, we still have yet to receive any hot takes or emails. Actually, no, we did get one email. Shout out to Max Downing and Wes, Grandma's friend Wes, for the good feedback and the reviews. Feel free to please subscribe, follow us on Apple Podcasts so you get notified when the new episode comes out. And if you have any emails, any feedback, questions, hot takes, email them to 49ersfamilypodcast@gmail.com, 49er family with 49ERS familypodcast@gmail.com. All right. Until next time, go Niners.
Go Niners.
Woohoo!